Hey there fellow cyclists, so I had this idea of videoing my rides and just seeing where I'm making mistakes and where things are going right or wrong. And I thought it'd be cool as well to share it with the guys that on the ride with me so they can see how they're riding, and also if there's anybody else that wants to come out on these rides they can kind of have a look at what's involved. So this is the Tuesday night Chaingang out of the community stadium in Colchester. You can see it's a fairly standard sort of chain gang. There's about 10 of us, I suppose, just rolling through and off. I suppose the idea here really is just to be able to see where the technique is right, where guys can improve. Also, one of the other things that I'm always being asked about is training with power and how that kind of helps you understand your training better. And whilst a lot of power is about doing specific training and understanding where you need to be and so on, it can also be helpful out on the road, and I'll try and talk about that in a minute. But I suppose to the footage, I mean, what we got here is as I said, the guys just rolling through and off, doing a moderate fast pace. It's not desperately fast, but it's enough to tire out the likes of us third and fourth cats down here in the flatlands of Essex. So you can see here I've rolled through at the front, and one of the first errors tonight is no one's come through. So the guy on my wheel is maybe struggling just to come through a little bit. He's eventually come through, but I've had to sit out there at more watts than I need to be doing for longer than I wanted to be. So I've eventually got some shelter. Got a little bit of a crosswind coming across from the right hand side there, so we're probably rotating the wrong way around, but it wasn't that strong. I don't think any of us were too worried about it at this point in time, although technically we should have been moving forward on the inside there, so the guys working got some rest. You can see we've got some gaps opening up there. Andy there's just missed his wheel, and what I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm just coming across onto the last man as tight as possible so not leave any gaps. It's always useful if you're in a chain gang just calling out to your man as you roll off the back that you are the last man, so that he knows he's got to move around, because we all nod off from time to time. The guy that's changing on the front though is an absolute legend. You can see the size of the bike he's riding is probably about 40 kilos heavier than anything else anyone else is riding, and yet he's still hammering through at 40k an hour. So I just skip forward a little bit there, just to another 6 or 7k down the road, and you can see we've probably all done 7 or 8 turns by now. Few legs are starting to feel the pace, and there's some gaps opening up there. And what the guys are maybe getting slightly wrong is they're closing the gaps at pace rather than just trying to keep it nice and smooth. That's really the key thing with a chain gang, is just to keep it nice and smooth, so you're not getting big differences in pace. And there we go, I've done exactly the same, nodded off at the back and not realised that Andy's coming through. One of the problems you get is as people start to fatigue a bit, concentration goes. That's exactly what's happened with me there, and I think you'll see it again in a minute with a car coming the other way when a few people just nodded off slightly. But yeah, there's good coordination between the group, lots of hand signals there, making sure that everyone's safe, and we're just rolling through at a good pace. I think we're just coming into a slight headwind here, so we're getting a little bit tougher. Heart rate's gone up a little bit, but we're still holding close to 40k an hour. And we're working quite hard. You can see pointing out about 350 watts as I come through on the front there, and then that'll probably drop down to about 160, 170 as I get some shelter. If Chris here ever comes through and gives me some shelter, he seems to give me a little bit of drafting there. Got a feel for him because he's got one of the strongest guys in the group, dropping in front of him each time and probably picking the pace up, which isn't, I don't think, is easy. You can see again we've got some gaps opening. The weather was pretty bad yesterday when we ran this ride. Some heavy showers and the roads were filthy and horrible. Made some of the corners a little bit exciting. You can see again gaps there. I think Soupy's pushed quite hard onto the wheel, and as I said, there's a car, everyone's braked, I've had to back off, and another gap's open. So we're getting a bit choppy, a bit ragged at this point. But some of that's the road, some of it's the fact that the guys are getting tired, and there we go, Soupy's had enough. And again, that makes a big gap. A lot of guys here would try and blast their way back to the front, gap to open up, but that's really not what you want to do. You want to try and keep it smooth. I'm going to leave Andy out in the wind there for a little bit, but if I hammer it hard, then I'm just killing everyone behind me. So try not to go too hard. Keep it around 350 watts. Just roll through as I have been all the way through, really. And yeah, then I get left to fry because no one's followed my wheel. But I think Tom comes through any second now. No, it's Chris. You can smell the pain in Chris's legs at the moment. He's hurting, and I think you'll see in a minute he calls it a day. So it's just terrible road conditions. It was bizarre because as we left Colchester, it looked pretty dry, but you get out into the lanes, there's just standing water everywhere, and it got really quite nasty as the night went on. Again, Jim Hill's hammering it through there, absolutely hammering it through, and it's opening up more and more gaps. Chris has had enough; he just wants to get out of there. But so much of cycling is mental. And as I came past, I just shouted to Chris, just stay in there because it will slow down. It's just about how long you can take it. It's about how long you're prepared to suffer. Eventually it will slow down and you'll recover. And he did. He sat in on the back of the group for another 10-15k, was able to come through, do some more turns. He rode a good ride. He got popped a little bit later on pretty much the only climb on this route. But all in all, this group's working pretty well together. We're keeping a consistent pace and pushing through at a good rate. As always, Andy's really strong there, just pushing it through hard on the front into another slightly greasy, dodgy corner. I think I bottled it slightly there, but trying to keep the pace even, trying not to push the watts up too much. Although I probably just pushed it up over to about 450 there. But as you come through, try and keep it around 300 or so, and trying not to kill the guys behind you. Although this guy Tom, I'm never going to kill him because he's absolutely awesome, one of the strongest guys I know. Another example of just how ragged a group can get when the lanes get narrow and a bit twisty, and also when you get some undulations, especially with these Essex boys who are pretty much used to pan flat roads. So got some turns here, and people are backing off in the turns and then pushing on again, and it's really opening up those gaps. And that's really what you want to avoid. If you need to go slower through the bends, then that's what you need to do to try and keep it smooth, keep everyone fresh. You can see we're down to about 6 or 7 guys now from the original 10, and that's making it hard as well because we're getting less recovery as we drop on the slower side of the pace line. And I've let a gap go there, which isn't ideal, and to make it worse, we just hit a little rise and the guy on the front's hammered it. You can see I'm way over 500 watts trying to close that down, and that's really the sort of thing that burns matches and takes the strength out of your legs. So we just wound on a bit here. We've probably done another 10 or so k. This is past the halfway point of the ride, and we're kind of approaching the only real incline of the day, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it's going to be hard, and it's that sort of macho competition thing that the strongest guy is going to make sure everyone knows he's the strongest. So we're just rolling into it now. Heart rate's not too high, same sort of wattage as before, about 250 on the resting side, 320, 330 on the pace side, and it's just starting to drag up a little bit. I'm still doing a good pace, 34k an hour. It's there's lots of fatigue in the group at the moment, and this is getting quite hard now. So we know the main part of the climb is coming. I'm just coming to the front here in Andy's wheel again, and he always gives it a hard push as he comes through on the front, and I get slightly caught out here because I've come out into the wind right at the moment that we're overtaking some parked cars, and there isn't room really for the guy in my wheel to come through, so I get left out in the front doing 450 watts there, and eventually young Cameron comes through, but what's he going to do? He's just going to push it on more because the road is rising, and he's got a point to prove to Tom, who's on the front now. So we're pushing along here. It's still going up. Heart rate is 175. My threshold is about 175, so I'm starting to hurt. And we're going well into the 300 watts. You just see the road is rising up more and more. Tom's had a look over his shoulder, seeing how much damage he's done. He's done quite a bit, and I've started to let the wheel go. And you see Andy's seen that. and he doesn't want to let that go. He knows that if he gets dropped here, he's in trouble. And I'm the same, and we're well over 500 watts now. And I'm just trying to stay calm. I know I could do 500 watts for a minute 30 when I'm fresh. I'm just trying to slip down the wheels. Jamil sees a little gap open, and he's piled it on. And I'm just trying to hold on, trying not to panic. Heart rate's at 182, and boom, they've gone. Just like that. I'm still doing 300, 400 watts. I'm still riding as hard as I can, right at 181, getting close to my max. And they're just drifting away from me. But the thing here is to not panic. Just try not to panic. Just try and keep things even. Keep doing the watts. I'm still doing 250 watts. Just recover that heart rate a little bit, get it down a little bit, keep riding. I've got some cars in front of me, and what I'm trying to think is if I can just get onto that car. I've got another 50, 100 meters of road here before we hit junction. If I can just get into the slipstream of that car, tow my way back on, not go too hard, not completely blow, don't panic, and I'll be able to get back onto them. And you can see they're just in front of those cars, so there's probably a 5 or 6 second gap. If I panic and give it absolutely everything here, I'm just going to blow. So I'm just trying to ease my way back on. If I look over my shoulder, there's nobody behind me. The guys are a long way down the hill there, so I'm just trying to do my best to squeeze back on. And then this goes completely wrong for me, because that grey car has just covered my line to the corner, and then he hits the brakes again, and I need right into the back of him. And the guys have just got a gap on me there, and it's also, but fortuitously, it's let Rob, who was behind me, catch up as well, and that's a nice surprise to see him come over. And right now I'm thinking, right, we've got to close this gap now. This has got to be closed now. So I'm pushing 500 watts coming through. The heart rate's recovered a little bit. It's not great. I'm still hurting, but trying to really get on the pad, because if you don't close this gap now, it'll go out, and there's 2 of us and 4 of them, and we ain't going to get back on. So another car's come through there, and again I'm just thinking, just recover in Rob's wheel here just for a minute. Let's see if we can get onto that car, because they're just in front of that car. They're not far away. They're only what's that, like 5 seconds up the road, not very much, but we've got to close it. We've got to close it quickly now, because we've already been out in here in the wind on our own for a little bit, and the guys in front are pushing on, and we're just going to get left behind. And there's still quite a way to go, and it's going to hurt a lot because the 2 of us riding out there. So we're pushing on hard, and it's a little bit of a downhill here with a right hand turn coming up. So at the same time I'm thinking, if we get lucky, they'll get held up at the junction, or they'll take a slow through. You can just see them turning at the junction there. I'm thinking, right, so take this corner hard. Well, I completely mess it up, and Rob gets a big gap on me. But we're on that car, we're onto that car. All we've got to do is stay on that car. That car is going to accelerate onto the back of them, and we're back on. And you can just see they're in front, and we've got them. We're pretty much back onto them. So we've just got to hold it here, wait for this car to get out of the way, and we're back on. And something really weird happens, because you can just see they're there, we've got them, and I don't quite know what happened, but we stopped riding. Maybe it was just because the road was a bit twisty and the car in front was quite heavy on the brakes, but you can see we're down to 33, 34k an hour, and this is downhill slightly. So we're not riding at all here. It's not Rob's fault. Rob's right on the bumper of that car there, but we're just not closing anymore. You can see the guys in front are just pulling away. It's not desperate yet, because we can still use that car a bit. We can still push on, and with all cycling, it's just don't panic, don't burn all your matches now. Assess the situation and see what your chances are of getting back on. So giving it a big push up here. Again, just trying not to go too hard, sort of 165 beats, 550 watts. That's a fairly heavy effort for me, but I know I can sustain that for a little bit. Trying to get a clear run through this corner. They've just gone through the junction there. Should be able to get onto them. We're coming onto a main road, so we have more space. Make sure Rob's in the wheel so that I don't have to do all this on my own. And just keep pushing. Push on again, push on again, push on again. And it's about this point here, you just think, this ain't happening. This ain't happening. They're pulling away from us. If we're going to catch them, we should be catching them now. And this is the thing, really. If you want to close that gap, you've got to be doing it fast and not 35 k an hour. It's 45, 50 k an hour. Get over that gap. And this is one of the reasons why fourth cats don't win races in 2-up breaks, because you just haven't got the power to stay away from a group working together. Rob comes through, he does a really long, good hard turn here, but it's just not enough, and you're realising at this point that we're going to have quite a bit of riding to do, just the two of us. And we had a good time. We spent the rest of the route, probably just under half of the route, just the two of us working really hard together. Still got round in a pretty good average. Average watts were right up there, harder than more watts than we'd done the week before when I was in the group. So it's still a really good workout, but just that one mistake, just letting that gap go on the climb, really just an error in judgment, thinking I could just ease my way back up and back on, rather than burying myself like Andy and Jamil did to stay in the group. And then they've obviously recovered as they got onto the flat bit at the top. So biggest error of the day, and it meant a really hard ride for me and Rob, but an enjoyable one too. So there we go. We could show you another half an hour of the footage, but I think we'll leave it at that for this time. Hopefully it just gives people an insight into what these sort of rides are like. Obviously, if you want more details, have a look at the club website, which is vcrevolution.co.uk. You can find us on the Facebook page and on Twitter. Everyone's welcome. It's a really good ride. There's Tuesday night at 6:30 and a lot of fun and a lot of pain, but hey, that's why we ride bikes, isn't it?